Welcome back to We Still Like Each Other, the podcast. I'm Travis.
And I'm Stephanie.
And this is the podcast where we show that the honeymoon stage can last forever.
Forever and ever. But I really have something that I need to get off my chest today. You know, it's all about the honeymoon phase and yada, yada, yada. But I need to address something.
Okay.
And it's not with Travis.
Oh, okay. Let me get my wine.
Sometimes I have smoke for Travis, not today. So, baby, in starting this podcast, we've gotten a lot of negative remarks through comments.
Every day.
TikTok, Instagram comments, YouTube comments, whatever. And I think we've done a pretty good job at kind of just ignoring it. Because the truth of the matter is we get mostly positive remarks, right? Every once in a while, a video will go viral and you get the misogynist, you get the pick-me women, you get people who just disagree with me and the type of person that I am, the type of woman that I am, the way that I express myself. And I'm talking about comments like, oh, he should divorce her, or he's unhappy, or run away from her, yada, yada, yada.
And
whatever.
You know, it is what it is. We don't take it too serious.
We don't. But what I'm not going to do is allow people to disrespect me in my motherfucking email.
Okay.
So take the time to find our email address and then write an email directed at me. That's not going to happen.
Do tell.
So I'm going to read y'all this email that I received. It starts, "Greetings, sister. I was watching your video episode 51 and realized that Travis has an issue with his masculinity. I share this to get him the aid necessary to help him step into his natural leadership role in the relationship. Below is the link to the channel. With this, he will move into being a dominant man you can love, respect, and admire and rely on."
You don't love and respect me?
I was so heated with this shit because I pride myself in kind of just letting the little shit go and ignoring people. But don't fucking email me. And then the first line is, "Greetings, sister," with your fake ass, woke ass, hotep ass shit. So I wrote my thoughts down because I didn't want to come on here and like be so heated that I forget what I wanted to say to this motherfucker. And since he was listening to episode 51, he might listen to this.
Should I put the ether beat on or?
I wore my Little Kim shirt because I needed like strong woman energy to like help me through this.
Okay.
So first and foremost, I'm not your sister. Perhaps your inability to respect boundaries and read the room has pushed the woman in your life away. I'm not their replacement. Second of all, I'm having trouble realizing what about my husband led you to believe that he needs aid in stepping into a leadership role. Perhaps you missed the fact that he's a magnificent father to 2 young boys, or the fact that he curated the space for his wife to get her master's degree, which he paid for in cash, or the fact that he's the sole financial provider for our family as I stepped into the stay-at-home mom role about a year ago. I could go on about how his hands alone is bigger than your fucking audacity, and I'm sure he gets laid more than your left palm, but I'll digress. I would like to give you a piece of advice that is actually useful. Attempting to help men be more masculine who are already in happy relationships will not get you laid. Lastly, please continue to watch our podcast. I strongly believe you are in fact the person who has something to learn here. So watch your fucking mouth.
Okay. Well, now I know what takes you there.
Okay. The other part, I'm not even done. That was my response to the first half of the email, right? So in the email, this motherfucker sends me a link to a podcast that I'm not even going to mention their name, but you know, on the internet, everyone's talking about bro podcasts and toxic men.
I think they're at the top of the bro podcast.
They're like the epitome of it. So I'm not even going to mention them. But they send me the link to their YouTube channel and then send me these 4 like notes. Number 1, do not watch any of the videos yourself. Trigger warning. So you already know that the content is trash, that the content is disrespectful, that a woman like myself is going to be triggered by it, but you still sent it to me. Number 2, do go to Travis' YouTube and subscribe to the above channel. Number 3, do click on 2 to 3 videos so that the channel shows up on his feed. So you want me to do some fucking manipulation, like implant seeds of toxic masculinity into my husband? Are you dumb? And it's crazy because a lot on this podcast, I've prided myself on like not being so reactive and using my words in a way that is not hurtful. And I try to lead with kindness all the fucking time. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to let people disrespect me. So take your negativity and your bullshit. You want to leave comments, you want to watch, you want to share with your bros and get our views up. That's one thing. But don't fucking email me and addressing me directly like you know me. Because I'm not letting that happen. Then ends it with, I wish you and Travis love, life, and happiness in your marriage. We're doing just fine, if you haven't noticed. Okay, baby.
You good?
I'm good.
All right. So, I mean, I didn't take it as strongly as you because, you know, I kind of viewed it as the comments. You know, it's just like, oh, here goes another clown. But it was very interesting that, you know, someone could watch this podcast and think that those instructions were going to go over well. You know, like.
Or they knew it would get me hot, which, you know, maybe I fucked up in allowing it to, but they probably didn't think I was going to address them directly.
Yeah.
So yeah. I
mean, you know, it is what it is. I can't help what people are going to watch. This is going to be episode 53. Mm-hmm. They're going to have their opinions of us, me included. And it is what it is. Like, if you don't feel I'm masculine enough or whatever the case is, I think the role I play in my marriage is the role that works for us. And whatever you do in yours, kudos to you. But trying to like manipulate me into being someone I'm not, I don't think that's cool.
And what's crazy is their version of masculinity, what they seem to believe that you lack is controlling me, right? So the first link that they send me is a man talking about, you know, on this podcast, we don't support marriage because it's so dangerous to men. But why did you decide to marry your partner? And he goes on to say how basically he's able to control her. She doesn't post half naked pictures. The minute he said unfollow all these dudes, she did it without hesitation. So what you're missing is the ability to control me against my will and the things that I like to do that make me happy.
Yeah. You know, I'll never fully understand that whole universe of bro podcasts. I think it's a community for men who have been turned down by women numerous times, and now they're looking for an outlet or an advice center that can help them maneuver through dating. So on one hand, I feel for them. But on the other, it's like, that's not the way to go about it.
It's like a bunch of men who are hurt or have never been hurt, but took this one anecdotal story of a guy who was hurt. And now all women ain't shit. All women want to take your money. What money, bro? I hate that. It'd be the brokest men talking about, I'm going to get you for your money. Relax. Most likely what's going to happen is your woman's going to actually help you make more money. Because from what I've noticed in the successful relationships that we've been around, that's usually the role the woman plays.
Yeah.
Making sure your home is taken care of in a way that allows you to go out and get to the money, you know? And not that that's the only way, But in healthy relationships, there's never this, oh my God, the manipulative woman who's taking advantage of a hardworking man. Fuck out of here.
And it happens, but it's not to the point where it's not an epidemic.
Yeah, you don't need a whole fucking podcast trying to warn people of the dangers of women. You sound fucking lame. Anyway, it's not even about the podcast because they didn't fucking message us. It's the people who subscribe to it and then think the answer is to tell Travis to watch it because he needs to be more like that. That's totally counterproductive. If anything, we're going against the bro podcast culture, and we want men to despise those bro podcasts, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And one last thing on that, one of the examples that podcast used is that his wife doesn't take half naked pictures, and that somehow makes her a better woman. Stephanie told me a couple months ago that she wants to be more sexy, like just exude more sex, right? And I'm the number one supporter of that. I'm like, she's showing me outfits. I'm like, that one's too, you're covering up too much. And if tomorrow she decides she wants to dress like a nun, we're going to get you the flyest nun outfits. But I'm never going to control who you are or your personality, because your personality is why I'm in love with you. It's what attracts me to you. So if you think you're in a you're somehow better by being in a relationship with someone who doesn't do those things, that's not the case. So, I still hope that this gentleman chooses to watch us and join us on this journey.
But don't fucking message me again.
And let's keep it pushing.
I did want to touch on that, what you brought up about my desire to be more sexy, right? So I was thinking, a lot of the choices I've made over the years about how I dress is some of my creativity and what I like, but a lot of it is what I feel is appropriate in a certain situation, right? So growing up, if it was 100 degrees outside and I wore shorts and a crop top, oh, she's fast. She's too young for that. Why is she wearing that? But it's hot. A boy could be in the street getting wet in the pump in just shorts and no shirt at all, and no one's saying anything. As I got older, a lot of my insecurities, I felt like, started to fade when I got attention from men, which is creepy as hell that I think about it as I'm older, because I first started getting catcalled at 11, 12, 13. It's disgusting. I don't even get catcalled anymore, by the way. It literally, men prey on young girls in the street. It's disgusting. But at the time, it made me feel better. So then I wanted to look a little sexier because it boosted my self-esteem, right? But then if I was going to hang out with certain family, I had to change how I dressed. If I went to a school event, like I felt like my value changed based on what I was wearing, right? Then I became a mom or whatever. And it's just like, life is fucking short. I want to wear what I want to wear. I want to enjoy my body, what I have, what I don't have. I don't want to stress so much about what people think of me, right? And I know I'm in a privileged position because I do have a supportive partner, someone who loves me, and I know you're going to love me no matter what the fuck I wear. So it makes it easier for me to say, fuck that, I'm going to be me. So I get that there's privilege in that. But yeah, that's why that is. And to think that a man feels like, oh, my woman doesn't respect me because she wants to wear what she feels comfortable in is fucking corny.
Yeah. Let's get off this. We gave them enough energy.
I did want to ask you though, it's still on this topic. How do you define masculinity? And what role do you think a man should play in a heteronormative relationship? Because that's what we could speak on.
I think I should just be a support system for you. There are times where I need to lead, and there's times where I need to be led. And I need to be okay in both situations. I chose to marry you, so I also have to be comfortable with the decisions you make, and vice versa. We've both made decisions that haven't always worked out for the best, but at the end of the day, we're there to hold each other down in the case that we do stumble. And that's the role, I think, as a man that I should play.
And it's crazy because everything you said, I concur. As a woman, I need to do and be all those things for you as well. You know, like I don't see where the gender lines are drawn in that sense.
It's just hurt people, baby. That's the only way I can see it. You know, being a woman, I couldn't imagine walking in your shoes. Being a black woman, I couldn't imagine walking in your shoes. So, and I just think y'all are just so hated on for no reason other than being alive. You know, someone will look at you and come up with their own idea of who you are without you saying one word. Like
there are men who are literally so threatened by a woman who could get on a microphone and say the things I say every week, right? There are men who are threatened by a woman driving a car, you know, and speaking up for herself. And it's just, it sucks. Like, how could I be hated for just speaking my mind?
When you said a woman driving a car, I always think about how every time I see a woman on a motorcycle, I'm just like, how does her brain know how to, and that's just my own shit, right?
Yeah.
But there's something to that.
Yeah. We've been socialized to believe that women are less risk takers. And I feel like from an evolutionary standpoint, that could be true. As mothers, as nurturers, like I think I've mentioned before, I never feared death until I became a mom. Like I'm less likely to do risky things now that I have a son, right? Like even in a car, like I don't like speeding. I wear my seatbelt. I'm like, There was something that you mentioned doing, and I said, we can't both do that. Oh, we were at the beach, and you wanted to swim out.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, nah, we can't both swim out.
One of us got to raise our kids.
One of us got to survive. So I feel like my mind works in that way on survival mode, on protection, and I'm less of a risk taker now that I'm older. But as a young girl, I was considered super risky for a girl.
Yeah, you've told me the things you've done, like going into the pool after dark, jumping big ass gates.
Yeah, night pool, New Yorkers. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
And yeah, you now would never.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
Forget the danger. You'd be worried about like getting arrested.
Yeah, I can't do jail. I don't play those games. Yeah, baby. So, do you have a did you know for us today?
I do. It's a quick one. Did you know? Did you know most people will fall in love approximately 7 times before marriage?
Whew.
So I'm doing some quick maths. 2 + 2 is 3.
You know what's crazy? Because now that we have each other and we feel like this is it, it's kind of like, I never really was in love before. But I feel like a lot of us do that as a cop-out.
Yeah, no, I definitely was in love. I've been sick over women before. Like, obviously, there's no comparing what I have now to that. Mm-hmm. But at the time, not knowing what this was, that felt like that was the end-all, be-all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've definitely been in love. I don't know if I've been in love 7 times. It's possible.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a science to that. I definitely agree that you should maybe see what's out there before tying the knot.
Okay, I kind of disagree with that.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say because, you know, there's people who've been together since fucking junior high school and they're the only person that they know. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure in the back of their mind, there's, especially when their partner's acting up, it's like, if I had only...
Trust me, they ain't nothing better out there. Love what you have. Like, one of the things I talked about with my friends is like, you know, back before Travis, this is going to sound crazy when I say it out loud, especially the people that hate me. But, you know, when you're young and kind of like being a little bit more adventurous and like, you know, cheating on your partner, it's never worth it. You always are like, why did I get this extra body? It didn't even make sense. Like, ain't nothing better out there.
Yeah, a lot of my bad decisions could have been fixed if I had just went and jerked off. Because as soon as you bust that nut, you come right back to your senses and you're like, what is this?
I feel like if you've been with someone since middle school, they provide so much for you in so many different levels that if you're just curious about stepping out because of sex, it's not worth it. Communicate, build your own sex life, figure out a way to make it better, because everything else that person provides for you is going to be very hard to find.
I have a friend who just recently broke up with their boyfriend and they've been together that long and their families are devastated. But I will say it's been a positive breakup.
Okay.
They don't have any kids. They share a dog.
Okay.
And it's just been like, we're not going to work. Like they've never even had like those conversations of marriage or starting a family. And when they really dug deep, they realized that they were best friends, but they weren't meant to be together. But this is after like 10 plus years of being together.
And I respect that. And I feel like we also preach that. Don't let time be the only reason you're together, right? Yes, don't let one little thing be the reason you break up. But if there's if there isn't this passion, this desire to be together, this like for each other, don't stay together, no matter how much time you have left, right?
Yeah. And when she told me, I was devastated, which is crazy. But kudos to them for figuring it out and doing it in a positive way.
Yeah. So how many times do you think you've been in love before?
I say a good 4 to 5.
Jesus.
4 to 5. I feel comfortable in saying 4 to 5, maybe leaning more towards 5.
Okay.
Yeah. You?
How do you know you were in love? We'll get to me in a second.
My first love was in junior high school. And you couldn't tell me I wasn't in love. It's just a feeling. It was just like constant communication, letters. I had my little Nokia texting. I was to the point where it would be like, she would text me from someone's phone and be like, don't text back. I'm just borrowing their phone real quick. And it was just a lot of feelings at a very young age. It was my first relationship. And that carried over into high school, and then we broke up. And
even though I said wow like 4 to 5 times, I will say that I do believe you love easy and you love hard.
Yeah. I was reading another stat that I thought about bringing up, but basically that men fall in love easier and that they also take breakups harder. But I didn't want us out here looking like chumps, so I didn't. bros.
Yeah. Could you pinpoint something throughout those 4 or 5 times you've been in love that is consistent? Like something that was provided to you mutually in all of these relationships?
Friendship. Yeah, I feel like I really, outside of the romance, there was like a real genuine friendship, like two people who enjoyed each other, and if there was no romance, there would still be an amazing friendship.
Yeah.
So I think that was like the common theme.
All right.
So we're not skipping over you. How many times have you been in love?
Besides you, I think 2 other times. And then there was almost a third there. 2 other times. My high school sweetheart, which you hate when I say that. Travis hates the term high school sweetheart.
Hey, my ex.
But if I just say my ex, you don't know when that was. If I say high school sweetheart.
My ex in high school.
Oh, my ex in high school. All right. I'll change my terminology. You over it now?
Yeah. I met him once.
You did meet him once. I almost forgot about that.
Yeah.
And honestly, like that relationship, high school, is toxic. I was toxic. I was a mess. We were toxic. And it was like years before I got over it because I was single all through college. So I kind of, in the back of my mind, was...
You wasn't single all through college.
Most of college.
You got pregnant during college.
My last year, at the very end. And I was already supposed to have graduated in May. So the first 4 years I was single.
Gotcha.
So even though I was like dating, or not really dating, like fucking around or whatever, in the back of my mind, I was like, if he asks me to get back with him, I get back with him. Like, it was that kind of way. It was toxic.
Did it sting when you found out he moved on?
It did, but we were so toxic that I was like, oh, this is temporary.
Oh my God. Yo, that's some toxic shit.
Like, I didn't think like we would really not eventually be together.
I remember, so since we're bringing up toxic shit, one of my previous relationships, super toxic, and similar to how you were thinking, I think she was thinking like, it ain't over. And I remember I did move on with someone, not someone I was in love with, just moved on with someone. And she called me one day and was like, I decided we're getting back together. And I laughed. I was like, you're crazy. And then like the next couple of days, I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'm getting back. Like,
that's how we were.
Yeah.
Like, there were times like I even like showed up at his house when someone else was there, and he kicked her out. Like, that's how bad it was.
This cheers to growth.
Cheers. Wait, so we were talking about love, right?
So 2 to 3 for you.
2 to 3 for me. And I would say that the common thing for me is the mutual connection in terms of we liked each other more than sex, right? I felt like there were a lot of people who fetishized me because I was like this black girl, but I was Dominican, and I was fun and loud and like me the way I am now. So it was like she seems super fun, but like too much to be in a relationship. Or she's like different, but not good enough to bring to my family. So I feel like those two relationships were people who actually wanted to be with me and like go to sleep with me and wake up with me and like go out with me. And I think that I was like, oh my God, someone really likes me.
There is something to that, right? Because there are plenty of people in this world you'd be attracted to.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't even mind being physical with. But then there's that next step that, like I said, I jokingly say, but there's truth to it. Like, once you have an orgasm as a man and your head is straight, do I still want to be next to this person? And that was a yes for those relationships.
Yeah. Like, there was, I know it's hard for when I talk about.
It's fine.
You good? So there's been a couple of, situationships that were like more consistent. Like, I was, seeing this person over time, but I had such a strong like defense mechanism. Like, I knew how to detach based on the way they acted, right? So let's say I'm seeing this guy, but I know it's strictly physical and they're not into me in that way. I knew how to like keep it that way without getting attached, without getting emotional. Like, honestly, even when girls will be like, I'm seeing this guy, but I'm feeling this. I'm like, how? How could you be feeling that when you know he's not into you? Like, the universe blessed me with an ability to like not give a fuck. But it was just that, a defense mechanism, because I knew that deep down I wanted to be loved. And that if for a second that person was like, you know what, I think we should like take this serious, I would have been like, okay, let's do it. You know what I mean? Like, I would have been totally open for it. I wasn't the type that was, we're just doing this. Like, outwardly I was, but like a part of me was open to like expanding it. I feel like I always wanted to be loved, to be in a relationship.
I definitely don't think that that's unique to you. I think there are a lot of focusing on women right now, or young women, that they use that as a defense mechanism. Hot girl summer, but they want to have a cold girl winter in a relationship.
Warm girl winter, being cuddled.
That's better. So yeah, there's something to that, and I feel for those people. But I would also say, be honest with what you want, and don't be afraid to put yourself out there. I don't think you have to, you can protect yourself while also taking that mini leap. There's a balance.
All right. So in going into our next topic, I do want to ask you, what is the purpose of a relationship? Why do two people need to be together? Besides the obvious evolutionary aspect, we need to procreate, recreate.
But you don't need to be together for that.
But a relationship, why?
I think it gives your life some purpose, it's like a moral compass that points you in the right direction. You know, I'm still figuring out life, but I know that when I met you, when Eli was brought into my life, when we got married, there was a little more, my compass was a little more straight rather than just spinning all over the place. There was like, all right, now I have someone, and a young someone, relying on me to make better decisions. So I think this relationship gave me purpose.
That reminds me of the did you know you mentioned about married men living longer lives. You know, if your moral compass, like you call it, has been improved, you're going to do less risky shit, which makes sense.
Yeah. So, you know, I think every relationship has its purpose for you. I do think later on in life, as opposed to younger, it can mean different things.
Do you think relationships or the desire to be in a relationship is selfish in a way?
I've never desired to be in a relationship. I've just kind of been, I don't know if fortunate is the right word, that people have wanted to be with me. Not everyone can say that. So I am coming from a place of privilege. Not everyone can say they've had to turn people down or they've have the privilege of breaking up with someone because they know that they can go out in this world and potentially be with someone else.
Okay, so do you say staying in your relationships, has it been for selfish reasons?
In the past, yeah. I've stayed in a relationship way past its expiration date because of comfort, because of familiarity.
I think you got it.
Yeah. And then, you know, being in this marriage, you know, I always remind you that I don't need you. I want you. I wake up every morning and I choose you. And everything I do is because of that decision to choose you. So I feel like I'm fortunate in the sense that I want you. I don't need you for a roof over my head. I don't need you for food. I don't need you for money. Yeah, so I guess it can come from that depending on what you need from the relationship. I personally, I don't think so.
Okay. So the reason I asked that is because maybe like 2 weeks ago or so, Angie Martinez interviewed Lauren London, and it was a pretty deep conversation about death and love. I think the episode was called Everybody Dies. And I remember we were having a hard time. You were having a hard time kind of relating to it because you're saying, I've never really lost anyone in that sense that made me like, oh my God, I got to find my purpose. That didn't shake you, right? What I find beneficial from the podcast universe or books or vlogs or any way of people sharing their stories is you don't personally have to go through something to learn from others, right? It has given us a way to learn from other people's experiences. But one thing that stood out from that conversation was this part when Lauren London talks about how she believes that relationships are ego driven, right? And I remember we were like, wait, what is ego exactly, right? Because we use the term ego, but do we really know what the ego is?
We discussed it, and I still don't really fully understand. And when I think of ego, it's like, I don't know, like being too sure of yourself or...
Too sure of yourself, right? Like if you say, oh, that strokes his ego.
Yeah.
Or,
yeah.
Right? So the definition of ego is a person's sense of self, your self-esteem, your self-importance, right?
Okay.
So someone with a big ego might have like main character energy, right? Like they think everything's about them. They need to be the star of the show.
It's funny. I have thought that before.
In what sense?
I don't, just when you start thinking about like life, and you're like, what if like everyone here is because of me? Like I'm the main character and you're all just like here to support my narration.
You want to know something mad dark that I've thought
What?
that follows that?
What?
Like, what if I've died multiple times, but like, this is my arc, this is my story, so they just bring me back and the story continues. Right? Like
there might be something to it.
That goes into like when you start thinking about your purpose and the world and like how important am I? The universe is fucking ginormous. I ain't shit.
But then what kind of brings me back is, why ain't I rich? Like, why am I living like this?
Yeah, but then I also think about how privileged I am. Like, I'm not fucking starving. I've
true.
never lived in a home with a leaky roof. I've always had running water. I live in America, New York. Like, I also think about how privileged I am. And it's like, damn, did I do something right in another life?
We gotta do something better for the next one.
Like, when I come back, can I be like Cardi B's daughter?
I'll take Kylie Jenner's dog.
Kylie Jenner.
I'll be Newman.
Right? I want to be Travis Scott, if you know what I mean. But yeah, so talking about ego, right? Main character energy, that's so funny. Your sense of self, right? So if a relationship is ego driven, that means you're in the relationship mostly for what it does to you and who you are, your sense of self, right?
Like your image.
Yes. And not only your image that you portray to the world, but how you feel about yourself, which I think go hand in hand. So I became a wife because I look like I got my shit together. I don't want to be 30 and unmarried. So I'm doing it because I feel like this is how the world will respect me more.
Success.
Yes. A mother, because that's, oh my God, you had 2 kids and da-da-da. Like, it strokes my ego that I'm able to do this. Another thing that she talks about is your ego in connection to relationships relates to your ability to control or possess a person. We had a conversation about this. To what extent do you feel like being in this relationship, you're controlled? Or do you feel like you control me?
Definitely don't feel like I control you. Do I feel controlled? Maybe in like a non-direct way, because there are things that I know that I can't do because I chose to be in this relationship or a relationship in general. Just for example, I can't like stay out till 5 o'clock in the morning and then just walk in the door without communicating and then just be like, I'm home now. Good night.
But do you do that because you as a man feel like it's respectful to me? Or do you not do that because you're like, Stephanie's going to be pissed and yell and scream? And
no, it's more respect. Yeah, I don't operate out of fear.
Yeah. But if you were to stay out till 5, I'm on your ass.
But maybe it's both.
Yeah.
Maybe it's both because there would be a lack of respect there if I did do those type of things. But then there's also that fear of like, she's about to, whatever she did to that guy in the beginning of this episode ain't shit.
Yeah. So that reminds me of like the guy in the beginning of this episode, like men who subscribe to that narrative, it feeds their ego when they have a partner that they can control, that they can manipulate, that they can say, she's such a lady. it feeds their ego. Their ego is threatened. Their sense of self, their sense of manhood is threatened when their partner is opinionated, when their partner feels like her body is hers and she can do with it what she wants. And like you said, there's limits on that, right? I want to dress sexy. I will wear bikini. I will wear a thong bikini. I'm going to pole dance, but I'm not going to sleep with other people. You know, it's my body, but there's a boundary I'm not going to cross. But to men who subscribe to that bro podcast narrative, they feel like even that, you're pole dancing, you're a mother and a wife. How is that going to make me look that the mother of my children is spinning on a pole?
Well, I know for me, I just view it as you're going to be fit as fuck and continue to be the arm candy that you've been since I met you. You know, you've always been my best accessory, no matter what I have on. I always joked. I used to joke with my my friends and say, like, let's say there was like a big sneaker release and I couldn't get them in my size, but I got them in your size. I was like, technically, I still got them. Because when I'm out with you, you represent me and vice versa. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when people compliment you, it's a compliment to me.
Mm-hmm. I will say that I know that, and I appreciate that. Some women might not. Some women might find that kind of toxic and weird that I'm like eye candy. But honestly, I want to be the bad bitch on your arm. Like, I like that shit. Like, I think I feel good if I walk into a room and I'm like, I know these men are like, damn, Travis lucked out. That might make me egotistical, but it's the truth, right? But you've never made me feel like I have to look a certain way. Like, you let me be comfortable, and I have my tomboyish style a lot of times too. Like, I wear oversized clothes, and you're never threatened by that either. Like, it doesn't fuck up your ego when I want to be a little less sexy or more toned down.
When it looks like it's just two lesbians out on the night.
Exactly. Because what's underneath is the same. Hold on. So something that she said, I'm paraphrasing, Lauren London in her podcast with Angie Martinez. She says, we think we are in position of someone, but we're not. We're together to bring each other up. I bring you up, you bring me up. But if we're not inspired anymore, we get into our ego and we want to control you. So I thought about being uninspired in a relationship. And yes, we could talk about inspiration, about personal endeavors, right? Like, baby, help me work out. That's different. But I'm talking about being inspired to still show up for you, right? Because if I feel like you're no longer showing up for me, I don't think it's just a you problem. I think, like, what am I not doing? Is it something that I'm doing that Travis just doesn't even care to show up for me anymore? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It kind of makes me think of you not jokingly brought up maybe a month or two ago, just as far as like the effort I put into dates prior
earlier on in our relationship, in the honeymoon phase.
I wonder if you have had those thoughts where it's like, what was different then? Like, why was he showing up for me in those creative ways before as opposed to now? Is there anything there?
I feel like with us personally, I've been like, what happened? You weren't that same kind of like spontaneous guy. I have asked those questions. But then I think about our sex life has gone through different phases, right? It's changed depending on what's going on in our life, right? And I feel like a big part of our relationship was when we were really shoveling out of debt and you were paying for my master's degree cash. So in that time of our marriage, which is still a big chunk of it, it's going to seem like a very small part of it eventually, but still it was a big part of our marriage. It impacted the types of dates we could have, your spontaneity, because I was more we had a microscope to our finances. So you couldn't plan a date without me knowing. You couldn't surprise me without me knowing, because then it's like, I'm surprising her with this, but in this moment, she's not valuing this date. She's valuing getting out of debt and paying for her master's degree in cash.
I think around that time, I planned a helicopter ride around New York City. And even now, I was like, am I doing the right thing? But, she just got her master's. And then it was kind of like a YOLO moment. I was like, we're going to have this conversation, but fuck it. Mm-hmm. But even that was a thing for me. Mm-hmm. It was a difficult decision, but ultimately I decided to say, whatever, when we have our next money conversation, it'll just be a thing where I'm like, listen, we did it. You had fun?
Yeah. Yeah. And then when you did that, I appreciated it, right? But then I probably told you a little long down the line, like, I know Christmas is coming and you might want to like do this grand gesture, but don't. So even though I accepted that, I also was like, don't do it again. So I feel like we're still figuring that out, getting back into where our finances are less like of a stress, which is why financial freedom is so important to me. Like, I can't wait till we're at a point in our lives that we're not looking at every single transaction.
Yeah.
And thinking, should I do this? Should I do that? And there's a lot of like YOLO culture, right? And it's cool for certain things, right? But I feel like, for example, if I say YOLO to a trip, or if I say YOLO to this bag, or YOLO to whatever, I'm going to enjoy it for a short amount of time. And then I'm going to stress the financial burden for way too long to make it worth it. Yeah. So I feel like for us specifically, I don't think it's a me problem. I don't think it's that you love me any less. I just think we've gone through so many different phases that our relationship has had to adjust. But that we'll get back to it eventually.
Speak it into existence, baby.
All right. So in your words, how would you differentiate between a love that is pure and a love that is ego-driven?
So a love that is pure for me is being with someone who just genuinely wants the best for you, even if it means it's despite them. I can name so many different things where it's just like, you have pushed me into positions where I wouldn't have pushed myself. And I think, I guess you could make the argument that you reap the benefits of that in a way, but
like what?
Just like, or even career wise, like I wouldn't have a better job if it weren't for you. Mm-hmm.
And I reap the benefits. So it's like, she did it for herself or for me?
I'm saying you can make that argument, yeah. But I know what I feel, and I feel that you did it for me. Yeah. I know that you didn't see like a spark of joy in what I was doing, and then there was like this opportunity to do something that did spark joy, and you were just like, well, whatever we have to do, we're going to make it happen. Yeah. Even when we discussed this podcast, this was born from you wanting to spark joy in my life. Mm-hmm. Like we've talked about it, but we've never really like got deep into it. But we wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for you, in the sense that you wanted to make me happy.
Mm-hmm. And what sparks joy for you is the technology aspect of it.
And just the creativity.
The creation of it. Yep. The creativity, putting the videos together, putting the clips together. And
it's even, for being super honest, it's been like the cause of some disagreements. Mm-hmm. Because it's like, all right, I created this, but don't forget you have other responsibilities.
Very true.
And then was the second one, like a relationship that's ego driven. Mm-hmm. The question was the difference, right? Mm-hmm. I just think those are like the good on paper relationships. Like almost two people who are using each other as like an accessory, but almost in a negative way. Mm-hmm. Like we make sense, we look good together. I think like this past year alone, you see we've heard so many stories mutually about people, and you're like, wait a minute, but if you go to their Instagram, they look perfect. They're portraying this life, but then you're like, well, they don't do this, or they haven't seen their kid in so and so, and we're just like, the fuck is it? Like, this is real. Like, this really happens. Like, there's so many people who portray like this image of themselves that's not factual.
Yeah.
So I think those are the differences.
I agree. I struggle with these two, right? Because on the surface, you would think pure love is the better love, the best love, is the goal. Ego driven is like, you're against it. Like, it shouldn't be selfish. You should be selfless. The ego is all about image and what the person could give to you. It's kind of transactional, right? But I struggle with it because it reminds me of something I always say, that my love is conditional. Just because I have pure love for you, it doesn't mean I'm going to tolerate any and everything, and that I don't have some needs that are selfish. Like, I do need to be fulfilled in certain ways that to the right person or to the wrong person might seem selfish or egotistical. But I'm not going to apologize for that.
That's a good point.
Because someone who's a manipulator and weird might say, but you love me, right? I need to be happy. I need to chill with my friends till 5 a.m. Every once in a while, I need to get belligerently drunk that I'm throwing up over the couch. That's what makes me happy. Well, do you, not with me. Does that make me a bad person? Is that feeding my ego that I need a man that doesn't get blackout drunk and stay out till 5 a.m.? If that's the truth, well then fine, then so be it. I do need my love and my relationships to feed my ego then. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yes, I love you to my core, and I want you to be a better person for you, and I want you to be happy for you. But I reap benefits from that too. It's just the reality of it.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of what Ashley said last week, where she was like, it makes, when we were talking about sex, and she's like, yeah, it makes men life better too, or their day better. There's benefits to that.
So yeah, I'm pleasing you. We're gonna have good morning sex, but I know Travis is gonna be a much better person that whole day. And who benefits from that? Me. And I had good sex in the morning.
So you fed your ego.
I fed my ego, but I loved you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there's a balance in anything and everything we talk about when it comes to love.
Can I say what that text said this morning?
Okay. What did the text say this morning?
So I got up and Steph was supposed to be sleeping, so I took the baby downstairs. And I was just playing downstairs with the baby. He was playing with his toys, and I get a text like, Daddy. Like, what's up, baby? And she gives me a laundry list. And she goes and you know, tell me if I'm getting the order wrong.
Okay.
But it was like sex, bagel, coffee, hug. So, and then I said, in that order? And she said, yes. So I immediately gave the baby a task and came upstairs and delivered. And once the first thing was done, I was way more energized to leave the house and go get a bagel, coffee, and give that hug.
Yep.
So she knew what she was doing. So, yeah, ego.
But I will say, you earned it too. Something you did before then kind of like turned me on. I was like, damn, my man is the best. I love him.
What'd I do?
So typically our mornings are, if once River's up, Travis will take him and like let me sleep another 30, 40 minutes, an hour on weekends or if he works from home. And that's because River still gets up sometimes in the middle of the night. So I get less sleep throughout the night. So he makes up for it for me in the mornings. This morning, for some reason, it just felt like River was screaming in the bed for like ever.
It wasn't.
But I was just tired, delusional. And then I kind of got frustrated and I got up. And instead of you feeding into that and instead of you being combative with me or saying like, whatever, you kind of took the baby. You were like, baby, go back, lay back down. It's okay. And then I got my shit together. I got composed.
It was like drip, drip.
And I was like, damn, I love this man. Because this could have been a big fight. This could have been a big thing. I was overreacting. I was like half asleep, delusional. Like he's teething right now. So the past couple nights have been rough. But instead you were like, I know this bitch is crazy, but baby, it's all right. Go lay it back down. I was like, damn.
I want
to fuck him.
It is funny that you're saying all that because I did have a moment where I was like, yo, she's overreacting right now. Because I remember I changed the baby. He had a nice shitty diaper for me. I put him in the crib because I wanted to like wash my face, put my contacts in. But in that time, I guess his whining got to you. And I knew time-wise, I hadn't put him down for not even 2 minutes. And you said something to the effect of, so you just gonna let him cry for 40 minutes? I'm like, in my head, I'm like, the fuck is she talking about? And yeah, it is true. That could have spiraled. I could have led with my ego and wanted to be like, prove you wrong. Like, you're wrong. But I reeled it back in and just... he threw up on you. So I took that as a like, all right.
Literally, it was like instant karma. I was talking shit. I grabbed the baby and he went, bleh. He puked all over my chest. And
I was coming out the bathroom from washing my face. So I had a towel. So I was like, oh, just take my towel, wipe you up. He like
wiped me up.
And that was it was a non-combative way of taking the baby. Because, you could be in an argument. It's like, give me the baby. But it was like, you had no choice but to give me the baby. So I took that. I was like, all over me. I wiped you up. And I was like, just lay back down.
Yeah.
And then I guess that was like the foreplay.
And then I was in bed trying to sleep, but I just was like, damn, I need to give my husband some.
I forgot why I brought that up.
Yeah, some people might think that that's not masculine of you. You should have cursed me out when I got mad.
How dare you talk to me like that?
Yeah, bitch, you take the baby.
I feel like we jokingly I've been saying like, can I just talk to you crazy for like an hour? And you're like, you want to live? It's not me. Yeah. And maybe that's why we're together.
Yeah. We need each other.
Yeah. I'm sure there are some relationship dynamics like that, but that's not ours. And that's okay. I don't need any advice. I don't need you to mess with my algorithm.
Or say, oh, don't let Stephanie talk to you like that. See, his calm demeanor got him some pussy this week.
What did your email get you?
Exactly. Nothing. More Jergens on your hand.
We good, baby?
We good.
You have a question for me?
Do I have a question for you?
Yeah. Don't you usually ask me?
Oh, there is something I want to say. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts,
you remembered.
Give us a 5-star rating. Most of our listens are Apple Podcasts. We average about 1,500
on the audio.
Yeah, on the audio, 15. But even it's Apple Podcasts.
Oh yeah, true.
Is more than YouTube. Like most of our listeners on Apple Podcasts. If you are on Apple Podcasts, just give us a 5-star. I don't even think you have to leave a comment.
Yeah, but if you want to leave a comment, that's even better.
We appreciate it. Is even better because that definitely helps us in the podcast world. So yeah, just hit the 5-star review.
Yeah. We good?
We good. Daddy?
Baby, I'm waiting. Like
I didn't remember if there was a pattern. But anyway, do you still like me, Daddy?
I do. Do you always ask me? I feel like we haven't asked each other in a while.
I don't know.
Y'all tell us. Has Stephanie asked me that question?
But you gotta ask me too.
Obviously.
I think you usually do. You be like, baby. I be like, daddy.
Oh yeah, do you still like me?
Yeah, that's what I was like.
Up the flow.
Yeah.
It's always after guest.
I still like you.
I still like you. Peace, y'all.